Hashtag new history. Hashtag new history.
All right, welcome to another edition of Hashtag New History. I'm your man, Kelly Payton. Mr. Kelly is speaking. And I know you guys keep noticing that the videos keep being at different places and spaces. Listen, COVID has been super challenging, but we will not bend. We will not break. We might lean a little bit, but we're going to make sure that this continues to grow and to go. Remember, this platform is about history, building new history, new stories, new ideas. We respect the history that has came before us, but we are into building new history. And because of that, we bring on guests that have an opportunity to be able to share with you unique ideas and unique excellence to be able to bless you in different ways. So now by the time that this airs, it'll probably be 2021 by the time that this airs. But we're having this conversation at the end of 2020. And I know, like you know, 2020 has been an interesting year. I won't go on record by saying it's been a bad year. I won't accept that. I won't accept obstacles. I won't accept the doom and gloom that everybody sells. I will not accept it. I decide what I decide. I am the master of my domain. I decide what I look at. You know, regardless of what it feels like, regardless of the challenges and the changes, I decide to co-create what it is that is before me. So because of that, this is why this platform is continuing to grow and to develop. And listen, you guys, by the time you're hearing it, of course, you'll be able to find us on YouTube. You'll be able to find us on Instagram. You'll be able to find us on Facebook. You'll be able to find us on iTunes and your other streaming platforms that will be definitely inside of the bio, inside of the links connected to this video. So without further ado, I want to tell you, listen, so I got a guest that's coming on, and I'm going to tell you the story about how this happened for real. So listen, I interviewed this amazing guest already earlier this year. But because of the challenges and changes that happened during COVID, right, I had an opportunity. So there's some things that we bumped up against behind the scenes that didn't go the way that we wanted it to go. But I believe in divine timing. The universe decides to give you what you need when you need it. So just maybe that time, you know, as the brother's listening before it comes on, maybe that version of conversation wasn't supposed to go out into the masses. Maybe that was just for us. But this one right here is getting ready to go out into the masses, man. So I'm super excited as we bring in our guest, Director Edward. You know what I mean? Like, just bring my brother in. There he is.
What's up?
How you doing,
Tuesday,
man?
brother. I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me, man. Happy Tuesday.
Man, listen, I'm super excited, man, because the conversation that we had before about Black fatherhood, about just life in general, I'm a student of learning, man. Get a chance to get around different people with different experiences, and yourself and your business partner, man. Last time we got to chop it up, and it was iron sharpening iron, black men shining on black men. Left super empowered. So having the opportunity to connect again, knowing that your project is a little further down the road from last time, but also, man, so much has happened in the world since we talked.
Most definitely. Changing times around.
Right. So we got a lot to be able to have a conversation about and bless the people, man. And I want to have you to do, man. If you can introduce yourself, my brother, tell the audience who you are, what it is that you do, and you know, how you bless this world with your creativity.
My name is Edward Varnie. A lot of creatives and friends like to call me knowledge, but I'm a screenwriter, director, former poet, slam poet, if that means anything. But I'm just all about telling stories and narratives that generate conversations and challenge us as people, culture, and community, not just African American and Black, but just in general. You know, it's all about bearing myself as a creative and creating the kind of art that I think is going to spark conversations that can challenge me, challenge my friends, my creative circles, and all those around me. So, you know, just a man living my travels, first generation Liberian. First many things in my friend groups, family, what have you. But, you know, proud every day to have the opportunity to tell stories that mean something to me, brother.
I love it, man. You talked about your origin, man. Said your family's from where again?
My family's from Liberia, so Liberia, Africa. Mom's from Sierra
So
Monrovia, so I am a first generation kid.
so having the African origin, and one of the things that we talked about the last time, I'm very fascinated off of, because us here, man, we're very disconnected from our roots, man. Very disconnected from our culture, and so how does that play a role, being connected to Africa yourself directly to parents? Being first generation, how does that play a role in the things that you do when it comes to being a creative, my brother?
I mean, first and foremost, man, sense of identity. I never knew, or didn't have no inkling of where I was from, where my parents were from, great grandparents, the whole nine. And I think one of the things that is prevalent today in a lot of our creative work, our art, and just us in terms of family and culture, community, is I don't know, we have a sense of self, a sense of identity, where we're going, where we're coming from. So I just think for me, I was blessed and fortunate to always have a strong sense of identity. And, from a standpoint of, I know your show is called #New History, but just understanding the history of my family itself, of my last name, Varnie, where it derived from, where it was coming from, and to where it built up to and led to manifesting in me. So from that standpoint, I never took for granted, or tried not to anyways, of always having a sense of placement, understanding of where I was coming from, and how I was manifesting in terms of where I was going as a young man. So I think it's essential, for people to be in tune.
I really, when it comes to connecting with that's something that's important. But myself and a lot of descendants of slaves, man, we struggle with that connection of making it essential for us to grow, for knowing who we are, what we're trying to grow, and what we're trying to do, man. And some of us feel a little drifty, a little lost to a certain extent. And we're finding ourselves more now by connecting back to our African roots and things of that nature, man, even from political stances down to how we raise our families, to religion. And that's something that's reconnecting back. So it's good to hear that it's a brother that's out there that is connected into this world and has a strong background. Liberian folks, man, look on the map and try to figure out where that is, even though you told us it's in Africa. But to be able to have that connection, I'm pretty sure your father had conversations with them coming from here. I'm pretty sure they got some really good stories, man, to be able to tell. To be able to connect. So I'm not surprised that you're connected to my period. He calls it the fatherland. That's connected to the fatherland of Africa, and I see how that plays a role in who you are, which is pretty dope, man. I would love to interview your parents, man. You hear me, brother? All right, so
I caught the bits and pieces. You are breaking coming in and out. I apologize. Did you repeat the question?
I can hear you just fine. No, I just said it'd be dope, man, to interview your mom and dad. I think it'd be dope to interview your mom and dad. I'm pretty sure they got some stories to be able to tell.
And it'd be a Varnie, I'm very sure they'll talk your ear off. But yeah, like I said, they're the first their family to actually come to America and help their flag. So then they came in, circa late 70s during the transitional times that America was going through, Oklahoma, and then transition up to California, migrating out to North Carolina eventually. So you have no doubt you are on the right track, brother, in terms of the stories you get from them. Putting stuff that will tell you to sleep.
Well, look, I'm saying, so what's the most intriguing story that you share that stands out? And I know you said a lot of stuff is long, but before you decide, what's one of the most intriguing stories, man, that you heard coming from your parents, coming from here, man?
I would say probably. If I could use one story I think is fascinating, is that it blew my mind that Mendy, my mother's tribe's crew. You know, for those who are Liberian African, who understand the tribal designation, so to speak. And apparently, my father was reasonably well-to-do in terms of, how he grew up, going to a private school, well-to-do, didn't have to go without. And my mother grew up more what would be considered more lower class, and it always blew my mind that, one day the laundry machine wasn't working, and she was hand scrubbing the clothes, and me and my sister looking at her like, we're not doing that. Like, what's this, hand scrubbing clothes? And she's like, this is what you did in the village. Like, if you don't do this, you don't have clothes in your back. And by the way, you walk another mile, so just to get water from the well, just to have clean water, And she's like, yeah, this is something that your father didn't know about, he had water, he had electricity, stuff like that. So, as much more as a story, I think it's just the understanding of how far we've come and what we take for granted. So I think when I heard that story at 16, 17, it just kind of threw me for a loop. But, as a young man, you grow up just thinking of your parents this way, that my mom's a nurse, she's an RN, she does extremely well. My father always worked as long as I've been alive. So I've never not known them without some form of financial stability, right? So I think this idea and notion that you would have to get up and go get the water you're going to need for the day or for hours to survive blew my mind. And then just the concept that, my father had a certain level of stability over there. He would have opted to stay before the Civil War, of course, but he opted to come to America with nothing, no financial support, but really what he had in his pocket, and a woman he loved out of my mom and stuff, and my older sister. So that in itself was fascinating to me. So I sit here to say that that story has always kind of rocked my world in terms of just this idea of work ethic. I think my parents have just been all about this idea of what you have in this world, what you build and bring into it. So so if you're not about just getting down and doing the hand scrub, right, scrubbing your own clothes and stuff like that, how are you going to handle having all this wealth, having all this opulence? We live in a world where we have what we ever need, right? So the concept of just thinking of my mom, one strong mom I know, walking a mile and a half to water a well, blows my mind. So, and then the concept of my pops being somebody who could say was born into some form of wealth, walking away from it to go to a place where he would be deemed as less than, because he doesn't speak traditional English, right? But is probably as educated, more educated than most people who come in contact with coming to this place, but having to start all over because he wants to have his own legacy and provide better for his family. So I don't know if that's much the story as much as it's an antidote, but that's something that my parents did share with me that I always I hope in time I can give to my children, So
that's that's beautiful, man. Intriguing. That's courageous, man. Like, that's a lot of courage to be able to do that, and then also to be able to set the tone for you and your family. It's beautiful. Look, I do my own children because I grew up in projects in East St. Louis. I'm the only thing they know about is the science.
Yeah.
They don't. And they don't really have a full concept of, what mom and dad had to do to be able to get to the point that we're able to provide for them the way we provide for them. I'm raised in suburban Southern, brother.
Exactly, bro. I hear you. It's crazy group of times out here, and just I think it's fascinating. We go generation for generation of your experiences from your pre-teens to teens to young man and or woman, and then it's just so fascinating to me where when you think about travel. On a Monday, you could have been in LA and New York in the same day, right? So it's fascinating to think from a generation standpoint. You could have been poor without living check to check or without a check. To all of a sudden you have more than you could ever have needed, and you have a generation that you bring into this world who will never know what it's like to not even understand the concept of where the next world is coming from. And that's the standpoint. This is what we work with, right? As young men and women, to provide and create opportunities for the generation that we're bringing into this world that we didn't have. At least I hope I have that, right? So it's fascinating to me to where I know my parents really took that on the shoulder. As hard as this ever was for them coming from somewhere with next to no resources for pulling themselves up, that they were constantly working with this idea like how much more we give our children, our son, our our daughters that we've ever seen have. That means stepping away from Liberia, a place that's going a different direction compared to the rest of the world. We have to make that choice now. I know it's something that my parents will often talk about, just the ideas of wishing that we just could have been more connected with our family. The reality of the matter is, it's almost like you have to make these choices where, we can stay here and you can be around all this family, but we're going to cut half almost all the opportunities you ever could have had, and that's going to a place where I don't know there's any place down that any black man or woman could go through and just feel 100% at home. Even Liberia for that matter, in terms of all the, constant purchasing of land and implementation of corrupt government, so to speak. So I think the black man and woman almost always going to have to deal with some form of white supremacy, which is a totally different conversation. But the concept of opting to go from Liberia, Africa, where you've been born and raised, that is your home, right? Where you're driving back to America in the 70s, right? To a place like Oklahoma, where it's kind of like gets, and dad told me stories of just like dealing with a kind of class of individual that he didn't see a man, he just saw a black man who didn't even sound American. You know what I'm saying? And you would have to navigate that, keeping in mind that I have a wife to provide for, I have a daughter back in Liberia, I have a young son who is here now. Like, I don't have the luxury of dying right here in this moment. So, this is some very, very real stuff here. So I just think it's fascinating, and I think about it, I just think about that, like, this is all the same generation of lifetime for both parents who are 60 plus, pushing 70, having to live at the certain pinnacles of Liberia at a time when it's people were living, but having seen the Civil War coming, then coming to the States, when we're like, post/late civil rights movement, late 70s, going into the 80s, where we're on the verge of the crack epidemic, right? Moving to California.
Talking 70s going into the 80s, that's like the worst time. Like America as a black man.
It is just so fascinating to think that, living in California pre-LA riot, pre-circa OJ, right? And look at all the transitional benchmarks, right? And then once again, too, these are for both my parents, my aunts and uncles, Uncle Alfred, saying Jossie, saying Mongo, Louis Free, Dorothea, one of my eldest aunts will let all these aunts and uncles come to America at a time to where no matter how much you do and how much you plant your flag, you pay your taxes, you raise your children here, they're almost always reminded that you're just a visitor, no matter how much you have, It's very, very heartbreaking, and it's just like, once again, the privilege that I'm given to where, although, yes, I'm, born, technically a U.S. citizen, so to speak, but going back to the first statement of identity and understanding yourself, I think that's the most important thing that, as America being a great land of opportunity, that we come from so little that we can build so much, is important to always remember those in regards to the history of America and its relationship with us, that you should always feel good and proud of who you are and that what you come from, So I think we've been the culture and community that's, in America anyways, that's been asked to give away so much of who we are in order to be considered American, right? Whereas everybody else, they can bring with them, their culture.
It's obvious. Their holidays, their dress, like how they embrace. You're absolutely right. We weren't asked to give it up, bro. It was taken, and then if you want to progress in America, you can't be too black. Exactly. Like, you got to be kind of black, but not like black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's then there's
that goes back to.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But that goes back to the confusion of another thing too. So this black is not any one thing, right? In terms of being a monolith, that I think the beauty of our culture and community, of our diaspora, is that yes, we might share the same melanin, with different faiths, with different backgrounds, different creeds, different understandings, different belief systems, make us all holistically unique, right? So it's so challenging that we've been asked to operate in this small box and be this one thing that essentially fits into the American prepackaged narrative
right
of the kind of black that they want. And it's very hard. And then this is how do you combat that if you don't have an understanding of who you are, if you don't have a relationship with your father, with your mother. You have these features, these things, and you don't even know where your voice comes from, where your nose comes from, but yet you're being told that this is the kind of black you need. So it's like, there's there's so many levels to it, man, that like I really lean on this, that I've been very blessed and fortunate that the village I came out of, in terms of my family, my parents, my sisters, that we've always constantly reminded this idea of sense of identity and love for who you are, that like by no means understand your place in America and the opportunity that you can build for yourself out here. But make no mistake about it, that you are African, you are from this village, you are from this tribe, and you should be proud of these things. You should do the work.
And those are the things are super important, man. You hit on a lot of, you just put a lot of meat out there. I'm gonna jab at a couple of things. Number one, man, when your identity
got those stuff on the grill, brother.
Say what? What you say?
We got to throw some meat on the grill and get going, right?
gotta
cook it up. Meat on the grill to get going.
Look. So you talk about a sense of identity. Like, let's connect that to something that has been very prevalent here recently, and we're talking about voting. So here in America, a lot of back and forth. When I'm saying back and forth, I'm talking about privately, not out in the open. It's about should you vote, should you not vote, doesn't matter, it doesn't make a difference, this, that, and the other. I literally had and I did this on purpose. I had an older black man I smoke cigars with from time to time, having a conversation with me about the importance of voting. Now, the way he approached me wasn't like, hey, it'd be a good idea if you vote. His approach was finger in the chest, you a young black man with influence because people died and bled and blah, 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 this and other. And so I came back with him with the narrative. I said, well, explain to me, okay, people bled, fought, and died. You're right. Okay, I get it. So as a young person, I'm born in 1981. This dude was born in, the 50s. Okay. So I'm born in 1981, right in the middle of the crack epidemic in 09. So the way I view the world and aspect of voting and things of that nature is a little bit different from the way he views it because his experience level is a little bit different. So I said, hey, I want you to explain to me. I said, because the way you just came at me, the average, my generation, now my skin is thick enough to understand what you you come in my generation, the way you just did, you're gonna push us away. You're not gonna invite us in. I said, because you know why? You're telling us what to do, but you're not explaining to us why. You're not giving us a reason why you connect. Yeah. So he got very, he got a little flustered, a little offended because he felt like I was challenging him. And I said, well, I am challenging you. I'm challenging you not on your reason, but your methodology. Because if you're going to be effective, then you have to be able to approach it in a certain manner. So bottom line is, during this time frame, we had a lot of conversation. And where I stand to the voting part, I made a personal choice not to vote during the early election, the early vote. I did it because I had not done my proper research on who these people were. Now, when I say research on who they were, I'm not talking about what's their favorite color, or like to drive fast or slow. Nothing super small like that. I looked up their track record of voting. They said that they were trying to do, right? And here's the deal. I can't vote on what they will do until the next election. I only can judge them on what they say they're going to do. Because a lot of these guys, I had taken the time before to be able to really do the research on what it is. The young gentleman, it's our culture to research who you're voting for. It's
very much so.
It's very it's like church. Like I had an opportunity to be around Kamala Harris, who came here to my city a couple days before the voting was over, and she gave a 15-minute speech, and it was exhilarating. It was amazing to watch this beautiful melanated black woman stand there and be able to pump up the crowd, but the energy felt like it was going to pass the election plate. So it was really emotional, not factual, not fact-driven, not evidence-based, not quantifiable evidence. There were people that were just excited in the moment, and that's probably how they vote. Say again?
Non-tangible, not tangible. We're not doing it tangible. We're just dealing with emotions.
Right. And that was the first time I allowed myself to be open to. I said, you know what, this it feels good. You know what I mean? But at the same time, feeling good doesn't mean that I know who these people are. So my thing is, voting is absolutely 1,000% important, but you have to be able to do your research to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Because if not, then you're going to go off with a rhetoric that's given to you. And again, let's go with identity. You're going to be given a voter identity and say you need to vote this way because you're black and you're Democrat. You need to vote this way because these people feel this way or feel that way, not the actual facts about what's going on. So what's your take? What's your mindset, man? Come on, you know, I got to pick on your history. You know, what's your mindset, man, when it comes to the American narrative when it comes to voting or not voting? Because a lot of our brothers and sisters did not vote, bro. They really didn't.
That's true. I think you said a mouthful, but I think you're dead on, and I always boil it down to this: keep that same energy. When I say that is, I think what's important about the voting process for us in America as Black people specifically is that the Black vote has been leveraged throughout the long to benefit everybody else but us. Like, that's a fact. If you just kind of look at history in terms of elections at local levels, national levels, in terms of the Black women's vote, the Black man's vote, and with the scapegoat, oh, well, if it wasn't for the Black women in terms of getting involved in this election, this would have happened. But, oh, when you don't get what you want, if Black men would have went out there and vote. So these two things can't be true in that case. But I think it's more important that it's not just enough to vote, but it's important to hold accountable public officials and our presidents, vice presidents, and senators when we get on. The fact of the matter is, if I did vote, as I did, you know, as somebody who doesn't really believe in the system, presidential-wise in terms of our vote. But like I tell my friends all the time, if I voted for somebody or something, and these 10 things that you ran on need to get done, and my point is our pressure points in our community is education, poverty, unemployment, home ownership. You know, like those are the keys. Of course, on the literacy, because I think if you actually do your research on literacy, you see how it puts people on the fast track to be in a jail cell in the lower economic impoverished communities, right? That affects Black and brown people, not just African Americans, but people in the economic sector to stay on point. So, but I just think it's absolutely important to where for me, if I don't see nothing being done in the areas where I live in and or involved in, I feel like I have every right to point fingers and call out and say you're part of the problem. I don't care if you are Black. I don't care if you look like you don't look like you.
Democrat, whatever.
Exactly. And I think, once again, there's something that happened where we, for so long, our generation really, right, have been shamed in the voting on the platform of you are a Black man in America, therefore you should vote. And don't get me wrong, again, knowing history, understanding history, that older person is completely right in terms of the sacrifices that have been made by those before us. Voting is a privilege if you have it. But at the same time, too, don't tell me just get out there and vote because I'm a Black male. Tell me get out there and vote and get your butt in.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I absolutely 1,000% agree with you, brother. 1,000% agree with you on that. Because if we don't hold politicians accountable, then how can we hold ourselves accountable? Which goes into something very similar to what really I know you guys are doing a film on fatherhood. So if you're not holding your politicians accountable, if you're not holding your public officials accountable, then it's going to be a little bit challenging trying to hold them accountable. And I love what you said about voter shaming, right? And it's about this. I want to get y'all right into the heart of your project, man. Aspect of fatherhood. The narrative is painted that Black men are not fathers. That there's a
keyword narrative, but yes.
The narrative, right. So somebody's writing, right?
Yeah.
The narrative is that we are unaccountable, that we don't want to work, that we don't want to depend on our educated women. We want to sit home and play video games, right?
Yeah.
We found women overly sexualized that we are just a humping eating machine.
They just popped out children left and right, don't take care of them.
Right. And we just being fruitful and multiplying and moving around and not being accountable. As if we don't, number one, have a desire to be accountable. Number two, one of the things that I know you're going to touch on is I go with somebody like myself. So my father was murdered when I was 8 years old. Now, I was blessed to have multiple different people around me, men, to be able to show me certain things of, I'm going to put in quotations, manhood. That's a whole nother conversation. Manhood is, in my opinion, I feel like there's a lot of, I'm going to use a term that I heard on a podcast with Mike Tyson and LeBou, toxic masculinity.
Very much so. Very much so.
Into the American heritage, black men who we still navigate, find our way as a father, as husbands, as men to interact into society. And we saw at the very beginning where how much of our blackness is accepted, how much of our manness is accepted. Again, I'm putting in quotation marks. Right. So look, I'm gonna hit one more thing, and I know you're gonna go into it. I'm gonna tell you something I got a problem with. Now, I'm talking to black men. I hope they listen because I got a problem with this. Right? So there's a conversation about alpha males versus beta males a lot. I've seen a lot of memes, a lot of conversations, beating the chest saying I'm an alpha male because X, Y, and Z, or he's a beta male because a woman treats him that way, whatever the case is. And then I ran into a guy recently that was like, well, no, I'm an apex predator.
So, it sounds so cool. People don't even have the context of what they're saying, right?
Right. So my opinion is, as you learn who you are and love self, whatever that version of self is, accept that first. First of all, try to inject yourself into a relationship, try to inject yourself into a situation, whatever the case is. And from there, whoever you are out there, that's whoever you are, whatever works for you. It absolutely works for you. There's no narrative that defines what that is. Going along with your project, my brother, which that's why I was so intrigued about this project. Creating a movie, man, raising money for a movie about black father, about fatherhood in general, specifically father, correct?
Yes, sir. I think it's obviously it's just about the conversation we have about fatherhood and dare I say passion of excellence, expectations of the father, and just at least for me, this idea of what does and doesn't make a father, what doesn't make a man, right? And I think you nailed it on the point to where I think in our community, talk about black people, that I don't know where to hear a conversation to where every other day of the week there's somebody else discussing what your masculinity means, what makes you a man, what makes you a man. And when I say that is that it seems like everybody else has a conversation on your masculinity, what makes you a man, than actually you, which goes back to what you just said. Loving yourself, knowing yourself, and being in tune with who you are on all spectrums, spiritually, mentally, physically, right? Emotionally, right? It adds to the makings of who you are, man. I would say it can't be for a woman, right? And I just think that we've gotten to a very confused place to where masculinity, what is a black father, what is manhood, it's about what everybody else says as opposed to the individual. And these narratives have gotten so out of hand now that it's almost, he takes care of his children, but, or XYZ, he sneezed the wrong way, told you so, right? It's never just, you can't be an individual who has to be a father who's building and passing yourself to excellence while trying to raise young women and young men through excellence with potentially, hopefully, with a partner or a partner. But I just kind of sort of feel like the tie back to fathers, that was, at least for me, I know my experiences with my father, the highs and lows, the challenges, so to speak. And I feel like now, just being my 30s, I'm able to see what he was combating, going against as a father, and that's even in the context of my father and mother being in this together, trying to raise children through excellence. And I say that from the standpoint that the narrative is so broadcasted and ran with in terms of what the black father is or isn't in his community. And I have to say to people, we can have the conversation if you feel like the black man hasn't done enough for his community, or let alone the black woman. but let's put it all on the table.
Right.
Don't give me the one or two cases of, yeah, he fathered children, but he wasn't around. Yeah, he might have did this, yeah, he might have did that. I need to know everything so we can talk about the causes, the traumas, the environmental challenges. And oh yeah, by the way, for every father you feel like isn't enough, I know the fathers that I grew up around and am still dealing with. The Stephon Irvins of the world, the Kobe's of the world, speaking of my friend Kobe, so to speak, he takes care of both his beautiful children, so to speak, the Marcuses of the world, so to speak, the Daniel Ratliffs of the world, great father figure to his nephews and nieces. So I just feel like we do the same to where in our community, with our masculinity, with our representations of the black fathers specifically, and the black man, it's a broad brush like that stone and on concrete, right? That this is just the way it is. Black men are homophobic, transphobic, they're anti-this, they're anti-that, they don't provide for their children. They're all the negative things that's wrong about our community. Matter of fact, they are the root cause of what's wrong with the community, right? Black men are trash, right? But we don't want to put everything on the table. And I'm all for us that, yes, we need to have conversations about the shortcomings, rise and fall of black men historically, generationally.
Man, I'm talking that too much, bro.
Exactly.
Well, we fall short at, bro.
Exactly.
It's if I see another red table talk somewhere, talking about how we ain't, you know what I mean, like how we ain't this and we not that. We need to be built collectively. Like we need to be built collectively. So like your project. First of all, what's the name of your project, my brother?
Name is Fathers. And I use the title Fathers because to me, I kind of grew up idolizing and admiring the great August Wilson who gave us Fences, Ma Rainey's Black Plays, some of the great Black plays that have kind of just talked about our experience in America. So to me, so to speak, the original title was Ain't I a Man, which kind of goes to the question that the main character asks himself, Ain't I a Man? But, thinking of my creative partner, Ocean, he's like, I think Father is more appropriate because obviously we're seeing a main character who is a father reconciling his relationship with his father, but we're having these open and honest conversations about being a father isn't just one thing in our community. It's great many of things, right? And it's like, let's just be out there and blunt about it. Let's own that, so to speak. There's no shame in having a story from the POV of a black single father. The black single father does exist, and he's out here doing great work.
So your narrative is going to be from the perspective of the black single father.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about all of the narratives, man? Like that one. What makes you like that one?
Well, once again, speaking from personal experience, I think I probably possibly came close to being not a single father, but at least having a child fresh out of high school. And I had to have the conversation myself. How was I going to go home and talk to my parents about this and explain that, obviously I've made some certain choices and stuff and everything. You might be grandparents, and I'm not even 20 years old yet. I can't even pay a car yet. I'm not paying rent. So obviously, with that story always being in mind, I tied it back into conversations and challenges, arguments I've had with my father. And I think, once again, I feel like I've grown up in an era where we've been groomed and seen all these great characters, black, white, or otherwise, and we just don't see the father being present, and it's never questioned. But when the mother isn't present, we almost always have to explain that whether she passed away or she locked up, like we have to go into the diatribe. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but to me, going back to narratives, we've accepted the lack thereof presence of the black father in our creative art, but also in our society. And once again, I can't speak to specific situations and people's circumstances, backgrounds. So sometimes you have to make choices as a partner not to have certain people involved in your children's lives. But
which is the smartest thing sometimes, depends on what's going on, man.
But I think going back to what you mentioned with the Red Table Talk, one of the few things I've ever heard coming out of that I agree with, I think Will Smith was dead right on, that first and foremost, fathers provide and take care of and prepare your children. It's your duty and your birthright if you have children, right? But I need our mothers, our partners, to make space for the father to be the father, first and foremost. And I think at the very least, for the story for me, I wanted to show just a single father, have to be a black man, first generation, reflecting on the most important influential relationships in his life while looking at his daughter, thinking consciously, what am I providing for her? What am I giving her? That's a manifestation of conversations and experiences I've had with my father, my uncle, who was free, Joe Malongo, just strong black African men who, in the time period at 10, 12, 13, 14 years old, I'm thinking these guys are tripping. We got to be a certain kind of way. But like I say now, they're doing their part. Alfred as well. Alfred Freeman. I keep going. I'll run out of names to say, but had to lead through excellence because although we were in the village of Liberia, so to speak, these family friends, we were all helping raise each other through excellence. When I think of my cousins, Richard Patre, Bobby Tucker, Margar, Taurus, Giorgio, these are all young black men who are first generation Liberian. My close friend, Bodie Wild, same thing. This is how we build and raise through excellence. Going back to your point, that narrative that black men are so many things that are negative, I counteract that negative to I think black men are so necessary to the development and growth of our community. And I say that not taking away from anybody else. I'm taking from a beautiful black woman. I think black women are God's gift to man.
Saying that you got to preface that by saying that you're not,
well,
down anybody else. Just to be able, even the narrative, and I understand what you're explaining, but even that narrative, we have to say, hey, sisters, not trying to offend you, you're all good. But we want to highlight the fact that blah blah blah, man. That shows right there a lot of the challenges of the narrative that we have collectively. Listen, man, as our time is going, man, let me ask you this. So I know you raising money for this project, man. So,
yes, sir.
How can we help to be a part of helping you raise money for this project, my brother?
Well, if you love what we're saying, the conversation, please check us out at fathersthemovie.com. I repeat, fathersthemovie.com. I'm very sure you'll hook it up by sharing the link and blasting it all over the place. But that's kind of our cultural hub for all things the movie, but also conversations we're having. A lot of the content media we're putting out centered around the film. If you want to read the first few pages of the screenplay, you can. We got playlists for each characters. We're getting ready to shift to a mode where we're going to start posting content from one of our key actresses, the main character's best friend. So if you really, really like what we're doing and you want to rock with, you want to see the story get made, you all should, come message us at the website, and obviously we're very thankful and grateful for money that folds, but you never know. You might have a red cam or an Alexa that you want to donate, resources, but we're as our main character, Coltrane, taps into his community in terms of building up his daughter, we're trying to tap into our community to tell the story about Black fathers. So, and really a Black father specifically. So just go to the website, all the information's there, or reach out directly to me or my creative business partner, Ocean South Whitaker. We'll definitely get you the info that you need. But that's what we're on right now. We're just doing the grassroots campaign.
I love it, man. Well, hey, man, I definitely am grateful for you taking the time to spend your energy and bless us with the wisdom and learn about your family and learn about the projects that you have going on. Out of all of the things that's going on, I'm going to tell you why your project is near and dear to me. So my grandmother was 93 years old. We're getting ready to be 93 years old actually this week. Right?
Bless your heart. You know what I'm saying? Old Earth. Bless your heart.
Yeah, Miss Annabelle Hunter, what's up, baby?
100. We love our strong Black women.
She was raised by a single Black father in the 1930s. All right. So you're talking about a narrative of the lineage of my family. So the narrative that you are painting and talking about, Black father raising daughters, you know what I mean? So that narrative itself is something that's near and dear to me because it's a part of my grandmother's the oldest living person on my mother's side of the family. She's the matriarch of the family. So it's very important to have that connection history-wise. So I want to tell you that that's something that's near and dear. I believe the universe makes sure that you're in a position to hear in ways that you didn't before. It's so beautiful, man. So even with all the challenges and the changes and everything else, to even to get us here, I welcome it, man. So, Ed, my brother, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. We're going to put all your links and everything, and so everybody be able to find you. But thank you, brother. Thank you. Having a conversation with us today, man, blessing us. And tell Ocean, I said next time he better be on here.
Ocean be here next time. Hopefully, next time see Ocean, we got a lot more experience, and we're trying to start 2021 on a high note. So we definitely be down to check in with you, brother, with the updates, new info, and hopefully today to share with y'all,
Hey, man, and listen, another thing, too, you guys have things that's going on, man. Any way that I can be a help or a part of what's going on with what you guys have, I would love to be a part, man. It's a blessing to be able to experience your energy, man, and to be able to share that with the world. So, Black Father, and I know you're getting that message out, and I appreciate that, my brother. I do. So So listen, as we get ready to end, listen, this is Kelly Payton. Mr. Kelly is speaking, hanging out with director Ed Varnie, who has an amazing project that's coming out to be able to bless us with. And thank y'all for listening. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for your time. Peace.
Hashtag new history. Hashtag new history.